The night was quiet, and the small town slept under the cold silver moon. The stars above glittered like diamonds, spread across the endless sky. But tonight was not an ordinary night. Something was coming, something no one expected. On the edge of town, a man stood alone in an empty field. His name was Daniel. He was an ordinary man, living an ordinary life, but his eyes were fixed on the stars as if he was waiting for someone. His heart beat faster with every second. The silence in the field was deep, but in that silence, Daniel felt a strange pull. Suddenly, the air shifted. The grass bent as if a strong, invisible wave had passed over it. A soft humming sound began, low at first, but soon it filled the air. Daniel's breath caught in his throat. His eyes widened as the stars above seemed to twist and bend. A light appeared. At first it was small, like a falling star, but instead of vanishing, it grew brighter and brighter until it was almost blinding. The sky opened like a door, and from that door descended a figure of light, glowing in silver and gold. The field shone as if the sun itself had touched the earth. Daniel stumbled back, shielding his eyes, but curiosity forced him to look again. And then he saw her. She was not human. She was tall, radiant, and wore a crown that looked like it was made of living stars. Her robe flowed like liquid light, changing colors with every movement. Her eyes were deep pools of silver, endless and calm, but filled with power. Daniel realized he was standing before someone beyond imagination. It was the Galactic Queen. Her voice was soft but carried like thunder. "Human," she said, "do not fear me. I have come across galaxies, and tonight I stand before you." Daniel froze. He tried to speak, but his voice caught in his throat. He finally whispered, "Why? Why me?" The Queen's gaze fell upon him, steady and unblinking. "Beck, as you have been chosen, across the stars I searched for one soul, a soul not greedy, not blind, but full of questions, and I found you." Daniel shook his head, still trembling. "Chosen? For what?" The Queen raised her hand. A swirl of light appeared between them, spinning like a small universe. The air shimmered, and Daniel felt a warmth spreading through his chest. Her words filled the night with power. "You, Daniel, will be granted 3 wishes. Anything you desire, the universe will obey. You may ask, and it shall be given." For a moment, silence hung heavy. Daniel's heart pounded. His mind raced with possibilities. Wealth, power, fame, even immortality. Yet none of those things crossed his lips. He simply stared at the Queen, his eyes narrow with thought. The Queen tilted her head slightly, watching him. Most humans would have cried out instantly, begging for riches or long life, but Daniel stood quiet, calm, and heavy with an idea too strange to share. Then he spoke, his voice low but firm. "My first wish is not what you expect." The Queen's silver eyes flickered, a sign of surprise. "Then speak it." Daniel took a deep breath. "I wish for humanity to remember what it has forgotten." The Queen's face changed. Her calm expression broke for the first time. Shock rippled across her features. She stepped forward, the ground glowing under her feet. "You dare!" Her voice trembled with disbelief. "You dare to ask for this?" Daniel did not move. He did not blink. His answer was simple. "Yes." The Queen's hand shook slightly as if his words carried a weight she had not expected. For all her power, for all the wishes she had granted across countless stars, this one struck her heart like a blade. She whispered, almost to herself, "Do you know what you ask, human? Do you understand the danger? The forgotten is buried for a reason. The forgotten should remain, and in darkness." Daniel's eyes did not leave hers. His voice was steady, filled with quiet fire. "I understand more than you think. My wish stays." The Queen stepped back, her robe of light swirling faster, as though even the stars were restless. She had granted countless wishes, gold, kingdoms, eternal life, but never this, never something so dangerous, so powerful, so forbidden. The wind howled around them, and the light of the Queen's crown dimmed. For the first time in centuries, she hesitated. Her eyes narrowed, and she studied Daniel as though trying to see his soul. Finally, she spoke, her voice soft but heavy with warning. "Very well. Your first wish shall be granted, but know this, your path is no longer your own. What is forgotten does not return without a price, and when it does, the universe will tremble." The light in her hand expanded, surrounding Daniel. The field shook, the earth rumbled, and the stars above flickered as if alive. Daniel closed his eyes, feeling the world shift, feeling something stir deep inside his mind, something ancient and heavy. And in that moment, the Queen whispered one last thing. "You have chosen a path of shadows. I hope you are ready to face them." The night fell silent again. The light faded, but nothing was the same anymore. The first wish had been spoken, and the universe itself held its breath. The field was still glowing faintly after the first wish. Daniel stood silently, his chest rising and falling, but his eyes showed no fear. The galactic queen's silver gaze did not leave him. Her crown shimmered dimly, like stars hidden behind storm clouds. She had seen countless men and women before. She had heard wishes for gold, for eternal youth, for victory over enemies. They were greedy, selfish, or sometimes desperate. But this man, he was different. His first wish was not for himself, not for wealth, not for power. It was for something no human had dared ask. The queen's lips parted slowly, her voice echoing with unease. "Daniel, do you even understand the danger said? Or of your words? The forgotten is not lost by accident. It was hidden for a reason. Your wish may bring back knowledge too heavy for mankind." Daniel's face was calm. The cool night wind blew across the field, but his eyes stayed locked on hers. "I understand, but still, I want it." The queen frowned. Her silver eyes narrowed like blades of light. For the first time in centuries, doubt touched her heart. She was not used to this. Normally, her role was simple: grant the wishes and vanish into the stars. But now she hesitated. She circled Daniel slowly, her robe trailing behind like a comet's tail. Every step made the grass beneath her glow. She studied him as if searching for cracks in his soul. "You are only human," she said. "Fragile, short-lived. Why would you risk the balance of the universe for a memory long buried?" Daniel did not move. "Because without memory, we are lost. Humanity has lived blind for too long." The queen stopped in front of him, her tall figure casting a long shadow. Her crown flickered, and her eyes seemed colder. "You speak as if you know what lies beyond forgetting. Tell me, Daniel, what is it you think humans have lost?" Daniel shook his head. His voice was steady but quiet. "I do not know exactly, but I feel it. Deep inside, something is missing, something we were meant to carry, but we let it fade. Without it, we are broken." The queen's lips pressed into a thin line. His words unsettled her. She had traveled across countless galaxies, met species far older than humans, but never had she met a man who dared to look her in the eye and speak such truth. She lifted her hand, and the night sky shimmered. Images flickered in the air, rivers of stars, crumbling worlds, forgotten wars. Her voice was like a storm. "Do you not see? Knowledge is a blade. It cuts both ways. The forgotten could bring light, but it could also bring fire that burns everything you love." But Daniel did not step back. His voice, calm as stone, cut through the glowing air. "Maybe fire is what we need. A world cannot live forever in the dark." The field was still glowing faintly after the first wish. Daniel stood silently, his chest rising and falling, but his eyes showed no fear. The galactic queen's silver gaze did not leave him. Her crown shimmered dimly, like stars hidden behind storm clouds. She had seen countless men and women before. She had heard wishes for gold, for eternal youth, for victory over enemies. They were greedy, selfish, or sometimes desperate. But this man, he was different. His first wish was not for himself, not for wealth, not for power. It was for something no human had dared ask. The queen's lips parted slowly, her voice echoing with unease. "Daniel, do you even understand the danger of your words? The forgotten is not lost by accident. It was hidden for a reason. Your wish may bring back knowledge too heavy for mankind." Daniel's face was calm. The cool night wind blew across the field, but his eyes stayed locked on hers. "I understand, but still, I want it." The queen frowned. Her silver eyes narrowed like blades of light. For the first time in centuries, doubt touched her heart. She was not used to this. Normally, her role was simple: grant the wishes and vanish into the stars. But now, she hesitated. She circled Daniel slowly, her robe trailing behind like a comet's tail. Every step made the grass beneath her glow. She studied him as if searching for cracks in his soul. "You are only human," she said. "Fragile, short-lived. Why would you risk the balance of the universe for a memory long buried?" Daniel did not move. "Because without memory, we are lost. Humanity has lived blind for too long." The queen stopped in front of him, her tall figure casting a long shadow. Her crown flickered, and her eyes seemed colder. "You speak as if you know what lies beyond forgetting. Tell me, Daniel, what is it you think humans have lost?" Daniel shook his head. His voice was steady, but quiet. "I do not know exactly, but I feel it. Deep inside, something is missing. Something we were meant to carry, but we let it fade. Without it, we are broken." The queen's lips pressed into a thin line. His words unsettled her. She had traveled across countless galaxies, met species far older than humans, but never had she met a man who dared to look her in the eye and speak such truth. She lifted her hand, and the night sky shimmered. Images flickered in the air, rivers of stars, crumbling worlds, forgotten wars. Her voice was like a storm. Do you not see? Knowledge is a blade. It cuts both ways. The forgotten could bring light, but it could also bring fire that burns everything you love. But Daniel did not step back. His voice, calm as stone, cut through the glowing air. Maybe fire is what we need. A world cannot live forever in the dark. The queen's breath caught. For a moment her eyes softened, as if she had heard these words before, in a time long gone. She quickly pushed the thought away, her face hardening again. Stubborn human, she whispered. Your wish has already taken root. The stars tremble with it. But mark my words, this path will demand more than you can give. The silence stretched between them, heavy as mountains. The queen's doubt was not just about Daniel, it was about herself. For the first time, she wondered if granting this wish had been a mistake. She could feel ancient chains breaking, things stirring in the void of space, things that were not meant to wake. Her voice dropped lower, almost a plea. You still have 2 wishes left. Use them wisely. Do not chase shadows. If you continue, you may doom not only yourself, but your entire kind. Daniel looked at the ground for a moment, then back at her. His eyes were calm, but inside them burned a spark she could not put out. My other wishes will not be what you expect either, but they are necessary. I did not ask for this chance, Queen. You chose me, and now I will not waste it. The queen's chest tightened. A strange feeling grew in her, something she had not felt in ages. Was it fear or admiration? She could not tell. The wind picked up. The stars overhead flickered like candles about to die. The earth rumbled softly beneath their feet. She knew the first wish had already awakened something hidden. She could feel whispers in the void, voices calling across the galaxy. She turned away from him, her robe of light swirling in frustration. You are reckless, foolish, brave perhaps, but such bravery may kill us all. Daniel's voice followed her, steady as ever. Or it may save us. The queen froze. His words pierced her like arrows. She closed her eyes, and for a moment, she looked less like a queen and more like a weary traveler burdened with knowledge too heavy to carry. She whispered, I hope you are right, human, because if you are wrong, the stars themselves will bleed. The night grew colder. The glow around the queen dimmed further, and though Daniel stood still, his heart raced with fire. He had chosen his path, and no warning could turn him away. The queen lifted her gaze back to the stars, her doubt heavy. In her heart, she knew the universe was already changing, and in the shadows of the sky, something unseen had already begun to wake. The night did not return to peace after the queen's warning. The field still hummed with unseen energy. Daniel felt it in his chest, as if his heart now beat with the rhythm of the stars. He had spoken the first wish, and though nothing obvious had changed yet, he knew the world would never be the same. Above them, the sky seemed different. The stars no longer looked silent and distant. They flickered strangely, as if they were alive, blinking in patterns too deliberate to be random. Daniel noticed it first. The stars, he whispered. They're speaking. The queen raised her eyes sharply. Her silver gaze scanned the heavens, and her face darkened. She could hear it too, faint whispers like forgotten voices carried on the wind of space, a language older than planets. This is the effect of your wish, she said quietly. The forgotten has begun to stir. At that moment, far away from the field, humanity also began to feel the change. In cities, people looked up at the night sky, noticing odd patterns. Radios crackled with signals that did not exist before. Children dreamed of strange symbols they could not understand. Yet they woke with tears in their eyes, feeling as if they had lost something long ago. The forgotten was returning. Daniel stood still, his body trembling, but not from fear. It was awe. He felt as though a door in his mind had cracked open. Shadows of memories, not his own, brushed against his thoughts. He saw flashes, vast cities not built on earth, strange beings with faces of light, and humans standing among them, not as weaklings but as equals. What is this? He gasped, pressing a hand to his temple. I see things that don't belong to me. The queen's voice was grave. They do belong to you, to your kind. Humanity once walked paths it has now forgotten. Your wish is making those paths visible again. Daniel staggered, struggling to breathe. The visions came faster. A memory of humans lifting their hands to the stars, working with powers beyond imagination. A memory of a war, fire tearing across galaxies, and something that was sealed away. His knees buckled, but he refused to fall. The queen stepped closer, her robe of light whispering against the air. Her voice was urgent now. Stop resisting. If you fight the memories, they will tear you apart. Accept them. Let them flow. Daniel clenched his jaw and closed his eyes. The storm in his mind raged, but slowly he gave in, allowing the strange visions to wash through him. His breathing steadied, but his eyes glowed faintly. When he opened them again, the queen studied him with shock. Impossible. A human should not bear this weight. Daniel wiped the sweat from his forehead. Maybe humans were never supposed to forget. The ground beneath them trembled suddenly. The air grew heavy, as if the earth itself remembered something too. Trees groaned, the wind howled, and in the distance the lights of the town flickered on and off. A wave of invisible power rippled outward, touching everything. Miles away in the ocean depths, ancient machines buried under sand stirred to life, their lights blinking after thousands of years of silence. In the desert, ruins long thought dead began to hum with energy. Across the globe, forgotten fragments of human history began to wake. The queen's face hardened. You do not understand what you have unleashed. Forgotten things are not always kind. They do not always serve life. Daniel turned to her. His face was pale, but his voice was steady. And yet, they are ours. We should not live blind any longer. The queen's crown flared suddenly, as though reacting to something unseen. She looked to the stars, her expression tight with dread. They are coming. Daniel frowned. Who? The queen's silver eyes glowed brighter. The keepers, guardians of the forgotten. They were meant to watch over what was buried. They will not allow humans to take it back so easily. As if to confirm her words, the stars above shifted. 3 lights detached themselves from the sky, falling fast like meteors. But instead of burning, they slowed and hovered in the distance, glowing with a cold blue fire. The shapes were tall, armored figures, their faces hidden behind masks that shone like stone. Their bodies were heavy with age, yet their movements were sharp, controlled. Daniel's breath caught. What are they? The queen's voice was low and grim. Remnants of the old war, the ones who made sure the truth was buried. They have slept for eons, but your wish has awakened them. The ground shook as the keepers landed in the field. Not far from Daniel and the queen, their voices echoed, metallic and hollow. The forgotten must not return. Human, you have broken the silence. Daniel's heart pounded, but he did not step back. His hands curled into fists. The vision still swirled in his mind, showing him fragments of forgotten strength. The queen stepped in front of him, her robe glowing fiercely. Stand back, she warned him. These are not your enemies to face. But Daniel's voice was firm. If they came because of my wish, then they are mine to face too. The keepers moved closer, their shadows stretching across the glowing field. The night grew colder, heavier, as if the stars themselves held their breath. The first wish had truly unfolded, and now, the fight for forgotten truth had begun. The 3 keepers stood tall, their armor glowing faintly with blue fire. Their presence filled the field with an energy so heavy that even the air seemed difficult to breathe. Daniel could feel the weight of their gaze pressing on him, though their faces were hidden behind shining masks. The queen's robe shimmered brighter as she stepped in front of Daniel. Her voice rang out sharp and commanding. Keepers, stand down. This human is under my protection. The tallest keeper spoke, his voice metallic and ancient, echoing like it came from a hollow cave. Protection? You know what he has done, Queen. The first lock has broken. The forgotten stirs because of him. You should not guard him. You should end him. Daniel's fist tightened. The words cut deep, but he stood firm. His voice was steady, though his heart pounded. I will not run. If the forgotten belongs to humanity, then I will face whatever comes. The queen turned her head slightly, silver eyes narrowing at him. She could not decide if his courage was wisdom or madness. The second keeper stepped forward. His armor cracked faintly as he moved, ancient but still powerful. Human, do you know what it is you call back? Do you know the price your kind once paid for it? Daniel shook his head. No, but I intend to find out. The keepers' voices joined together, a haunting chorus. Then remember. The air rippled, a wave of energy surged into Daniel's chest, forcing him to his knees. His vision blurred as his mind filled with images. Too many, too fast. He gasped, gripping the soil beneath him as the memories poured in. He saw a time when humanity was not weak. Long before written history, humans had walked among stars. They were not beggars staring at the sky. They were builders, dreamers, warriors. They carried knowledge that bent light and shaped worlds. But then came the war, a war so vast it stretched across galaxies. Humanity was caught in the middle, too bold, too curious. They dug too deep into truths that belonged to no one, and they awakened something ancient and terrible. Daniel saw flashes, burning skies, shattered planets, endless fleets locked in battle. He saw humans standing strong, fighting side by side with other races. But he also saw betrayal, human leaders choosing paths that unleashed destruction. He saw a moment when everything broke. Then came the silence. Humanity was forced into exile, not on another planet but within themselves. Their memories were sealed, their history erased. The keepers were born from this act, to guard the lock, to make sure mankind never remembered. Daniel fell forward, sweat dripping down his face. His hands shook, his chest burned, but he forced himself to rise. His eyes glowed faintly again, silver reflections like the queen's. "I saw it," he whispered. His voice cracked but carried strength. "We were more than we are now. We were not small, not weak, but something terrible made us forget." The queen's face was unreadable, though her eyes softened for a moment. She had known fragments of this story, but not the full weight of it. She turned to the keepers. "You hid this from them. You chose silence over truth. The first K." Eeper raised his arm, his voice sharp. "Because truth destroyed them once. If they remember fully, it will destroy them again. Better to live blind than burn twice." Daniel's voice cut through the air. "No. Better to see the fire and choose how to face it. We are not children anymore." The keeper's blue flames flickered uncertainly. For a moment, even they seemed unsure. The silence grew heavy. Finally, the third keeper spoke, his voice lower, more tired. "Human, if you continue, you will awaken not only knowledge, but enemies older than your race. Do you truly wish to carry that burden?" Daniel straightened his back. His legs trembled, but his voice was steady. "Yes, if humanity once walked among stars, then we must walk again. We cannot live as shadows of what we were." The queen studied him quietly, her doubt still lingering, but her respect growing. This human had not broken under the weight of memory. Instead, he carried it with a strange, dangerous pride. She stepped closer, her silver eyes locking with his. "Then hear me, Daniel. What you saw was only a fragment. The full truth lies hidden deeper still, in places even the keepers cannot guard forever. If you wish to uncover it, you will need strength far beyond what you now hold." Daniel's voice was calm, but there was fire beneath it. "Then that will be my second wish." The queen froze. The keepers stiffened. The air itself seemed to gasp. "You would waste another wish so quickly?" the queen asked, her voice half in awe, half in fear. "It is not waste," Daniel replied. "The first wish gave us memory. The second will give us the strength to face what comes with it." The queen's crown flickered wildly, torn between her duty and her fear. The keeper's flames rose higher, their voices hissing in protest. "Do not grant it, queen. To give him strength is to unchain the storm." But Daniel stood tall now, his eyes blazing. He had seen the past, he had felt the loss, and he would not turn back. The queen looked at him for a long moment. Then she whispered, "You are walking a path no human has walked in thousands of years. Very well, but know this, Daniel. Once strength is given, there will be no turning back." The night grew darker. The field trembled once again. The stars flickered like warning lights. The first wish had awakened the past. The second would decide the future. The field was heavy with silence after Daniel spoke his intent. The keeper's blue flames hissed, restless like caged storms. The queen's silver eyes glowed faintly as she studied the human who dared to challenge the order of the universe. Her voice was soft, but it carried an edge. "You would spend your second wish on strength? You do not yet know the weight of the first. Strength is not a gift without cost, Daniel. It is a burden." Daniel's breath came slow and steady. His chest still ached from the flood of memories, but his voice was calm. "If I carry the knowledge of the forgotten, then I must also carry the strength to protect it. Otherwise, it will crush me, and everyone else." The queen's gaze lingered on him. There was doubt in her eyes, but also something else. A glimmer of respect she had not expected to feel for a human. The tallest keeper stepped forward, his voice metallic thunder. "Queen, you cannot grant this. Human strength is not meant to touch the stars again. If you give him power, he will awaken what should stay buried." The second keeper added, "We watched your kind fall once. Do not let history repeat." But Daniel's voice rose above theirs, firm and unwavering. "History should not be forgotten. If we fell once, we must rise stronger. If danger is coming, then I will not face it weak." The queen closed her eyes for a long moment. Her robe of light swirled in the night breeze, flickering between silver and gold. Finally, she lifted her hand. "So be it," she whispered. "But know this, Daniel, strength is not only power, it is truth revealed, and sometimes truth destroys more than it saves." A circle of silver light formed beneath Daniel's feet. The ground trembled. The stars above flared as though watching. Energy surged upward, wrapping around him like a storm. He gasped as it entered his body, burning and freezing all at once. His knees nearly buckled, but he refused to fall. The Queen's voice rang in the air, ancient and commanding. "By the will of the stars, by the weight of forgotten history, I grant you strength, not as men have known it, but as the universe once gave your kind." Daniel cried out, his voice echoing across the field. His veins glowed faintly, his skin burned with patterns of light like forgotten runes. His eyes blazed brighter, silver fire flickering inside them. The energy filled him, but with it came more visions, more fragments of the past. He saw humans moving mountains with their hands, speaking with stars as if they were alive. He saw them open doors to other worlds. And he saw the fall, the war, the betrayal, the sealing of knowledge. His body shook, but he held firm. When the light finally faded, Daniel stood taller. His chest rose with steady breath, and his eyes no longer looked like the eyes of an ordinary man. The keepers hissed in fury, their blue flames rising high. "Foolish Queen, you have unleashed disaster." But the Queen's voice was steady. "No, I have honored his wish. The stars themselves bore witness. If disaster comes, then it is because it was already written." Daniel looked down at his hands. They trembled faintly, but when he clenched them into fists, the trembling stopped. He felt the strength, not just in muscle, but in spirit. His mind was clearer, sharper, as though he could see patterns in the night sky no human had noticed before. He turned toward the keepers. "I did not ask for this lightly. If you are here to stop me, then test me. But know this, I will not surrender humanity's truth again." The keepers stood silent, their flames flickering uncertainly. They had expected him to crumble, to burn under the gift of power, but he stood firm. The third keeper's voice was low, almost reluctant. "Perhaps the old fire has not died after all." Daniel stepped forward, but the Queen raised her hand, stopping him. Her silver eyes locked with his. "You asked for strength, and it is yours. But listen well, strength does not only reveal enemies, it reveals truths you may wish you never saw." As if her words summoned it, the night sky shifted. Stars bent into strange shapes, like an eye opening across the heavens. A rift of light split the darkness, wide and terrible. Through it, shadows moved. Vast shapes, ancient and heavy, watching with hunger. Daniel's breath caught. His heart pounded, but his new strength steadied him. He could feel the gaze of those beings pressing into him, like knives against his mind. The Queen's face turned pale, her voice sharp. "Do not look too long. They are the Watchers, the ones who remained when your kind fell. They have waited in silence, and now they see you." Daniel forced his gaze away, though the memory of that eye burned inside him. He clenched his fists tighter, fire surging in his veins. "Then let them see. If they come, I will face them." The Queen whispered, almost to herself, "You are reckless. But perhaps recklessness is what the universe needs." The keepers stood in silence. Their flames burned low, uncertain for the first time. Daniel had survived what no human should have. He had touched the forgotten, and he had taken strength from the stars themselves. The Queen lowered her hand, her voice soft but heavy with warning. "Two wishes are spoken. One remains. Choose carefully, Daniel, for the third will not only shape your fate, it will shape the fate of all who walk beneath the stars." The field fell quiet again, but the silence was no comfort. Somewhere beyond the rift, ancient shadows stirred. The walks. Hers had seen him. The universe itself waited for his final choice. The second wish had been made. And now, the real test was about to begin. The rift in the sky glowed faintly, like a wound across the universe. Shadows moved behind it, vast and terrible, whispering from beyond. The air in the field was sharp and heavy, pressing on every breath. Daniel stood in the center of the glow, his fists clenched, his new strength burning within him. He felt alive, awake, more human than ever, and yet not quite human anymore. The silver fire in his eyes had not dimmed. The Queen watched him silently, her robe of light swirling restlessly around her. Doubt clung to her heart like iron chains. She had granted two wishes, and both had shaken the balance of the universe. If the third came to pass, she feared the stars themselves might fall. Her voice finally broke the silence. "Daniel, listen to me. You have two wishes already. Memory has returned. Strength is yours. Stop here. Do not speak the third. Daniel's gaze met hers, calm, but unyielding. I cannot stop. The last wish is the key. Without it, all this will mean nothing. The queen stepped closer, her silver eyes sharp with urgency. You do not understand. The third wish will not only bind your fate, it will bind mine, the keepers in every living world. Once spoken, it cannot be undone. Daniel's voice was steady, but there was fire beneath it. I understand. That is why I must make it. The keepers stirred, their blue flames crackling louder. They had stood silent since his second wish, but now their voices rose again, filled with warning. Queen, stop him! You are the bridge. Without you, his words hold no power. The queen's hands trembled. She looked at Daniel, truly looked, as if searching for something hidden behind his eyes. She saw no greed, no madness, only a resolve stronger than steel. That terrified her more than any hunger for power could. Her voice dropped to a whisper. Why, Daniel? Why push so far? You could have asked for safety, for peace, for eternal life. Instead, you choose paths filled with fire. Why? Daniel's jaw tightened. His voice was quiet but carried like thunder. Because peace without truth is only a cage. I would rather face the storm than live blind inside walls I never built. The queen's chest tightened. His words cut deeper than he knew. For centuries, she had granted wishes but never questioned her role. She had carried out her duty with precision, untouched by the hearts of mortals. Yet this man, this fragile human, had shaken her certainty. Her voice sharpened. Do not make me your enemy, Daniel. If you try to speak the third wish, I will stop you. The field trembled. For a moment, the silence grew dangerous. Daniel's eyes did not waver. If you must stop me, then try. But you chose me, Queen. You brought me here, and now you fear the choice you gave. Her silver crown flickered violently, torn between power and fear. The keepers stepped forward, their voices hissing like fire on stone. If the queen will not end this, then we will. One human cannot be allowed to unchain the universe. Blue fire flared around them, their forms swelling larger, darker. Daniel's fists clenched, the silver fire in his veins answering. But before either side could strike, the queen raised her hand. Enough! Her voice shattered the night. The ground shook, the sky trembled, and even the keepers froze. She turned to them, her eyes blazing. You will not harm him. His fate is tied to mine now. If he falls, I fall as well. The keepers hissed in protest, but they did not move. The queen turned back to Daniel. Her face was calmer now, but her voice carried sorrow. You are strong, but you are still human. Do you know what happens to mortals who touch eternity? They break. Their minds shatter, their hearts rot. Even now, your fire burns brighter than it should. You are walking toward ruin. Daniel took a slow breath. If I break, I break. But humanity deserves the truth, even if it costs me everything. Her silver eyes softened for just a heartbeat. Something unspoken passed through her gaze. Regret, perhaps, or admiration. Then her voice hardened again. Very well, but know this. I will not grant your last wish easily. If you want it, you must survive what comes next. The air thickened. The stars above bent strangely, as though listening. From the rift came a deep rumble, like laughter from something too large to see. The watchers stirred, their shadows pressing harder against the world. Daniel felt their gaze on him again, cold and endless. His strength surged in response, silver fire crackling faintly across his skin. He knew the third wish was close, but he also knew the queen's struggle was not with him alone. It was within herself. She feared him, feared what his courage might unleash, but she also feared her own part in it. For the first time in ages, the galactic queen questioned her duty. The night was alive with tension. The rift in the sky burned wider, its edges sparking with strange light, as if the heavens themselves had been torn apart. From behind it, enormous shapes stirred, watchers, vast and ancient, pressing closer with every second. Their whispers rolled across the air like waves of thunder. Daniel stood firm beneath their gaze. The silver fire inside him pulsed brighter with every heartbeat. His first wish had returned memory. His second had given him strength. Now only one wish remained. The queen stood opposite him, her robe flickering with restless energy. Her silver eyes locked on his, sharp with warning. Daniel, she said, her voice trembling in a way it never had before. Do not speak it. The third wish is a blade that cuts everything. Once spoken, there is no return. Daniel's chest rose and fell slowly. His voice was calm. Most gentle, but unyielding. I must. The first two wishes opened the door. The third will decide whether we walk through or close it forever. The keepers hissed. Their blue flames flaring higher. Queen, stop him! He cannot be allowed to finish! But the queen raised her hand, silencing them. She did not move toward Daniel, nor away. She only watched, her own heart caught between fear and curiosity. She wanted to stop him, yet something deep inside told her this moment was already written. The field trembled. The grass bent as if under invisible weight. The stars above flickered, forming strange patterns. Humanity, far away in their cities and villages, felt the shift too. People woke from their sleep with pounding hearts, not knowing why. Machines failed, seas stirred, and animals howled at the skies. The universe itself seemed to wait. Daniel took a step forward, his eyes burning with light. "My third wish," he began. The queen's hands clenched. "No," she cried, her voice shaking the air, but still she did not move. She could not stop him, not truly. Daniel's voice grew stronger, steady as stone. "My third wish is for humanity to face the truth, no matter the cost." The rift roared open, a sound like mountains breaking. A storm of light and shadow poured into the sky, twisting across the stars. The watchers leaned closer, their massive shapes pressing through the tear. Their whispers rose into a single voice, deep and endless. The queen gasped, her crown flaring wildly. "Daniel, do you know what you've done?" Daniel stood still, his face pale but resolute. "I've done what had to be done." The ground split, cracks glowing with silver fire. From the earth, strange symbols carved themselves into the soil, burning bright as forgotten power woke fully. Across the world, ancient ruins glowed again, and people everywhere felt the weight of memories returning. The keepers fell to their knees, their flames sputtering. "It is too late," one whispered. "The seal is broken." The queen stepped closer, her eyes wide with both awe and terror. She whispered as if to herself, "He has not doomed us or saved us. He has chosen a path no one has walked before." The rift widened further. One watcher's enormous eye peered through, shining like a star of fire. Its gaze swept across the field and landed on Daniel. The queen raised her voice, desperate now. "Look away, Daniel. Their gaze will burn your mind." But Daniel did not look away. His silver-lit eyes stared directly into the watcher's endless gaze. His voice was quiet, but it carried through the night. "If you see me, then know this. We are not afraid anymore." The watcher's voice thundered, shaking the earth. "Human, you have broken silence. You invite war." Daniel's fire burned brighter. "Then let it come." The queen's robe whipped violently in the wind of power surging around them. Her heart pounded in her chest, though she had not felt such fear in ages. She stepped forward, shouting over the storm. "Daniel, the third wish is complete, but its end has not yet revealed itself. What happens next? None of us can control." The rift split wider, silver and black fire colliding. Light swallowed the field, brighter than the sun. Daniel's figure glowed like a burning star, and the queen shielded her eyes. And then, silence. The light vanished in a single breath. The field was dark again, the rift still glowing faintly above. Daniel stood in the center, his eyes dim but steady, his chest rising with slow breaths. The queen lowered her hands, her voice trembling. "What did you truly wish for, Daniel? Speak clearly. What did you bind with those words?" Daniel lifted his head, his voice soft but heavy as stone. "I wished for humanity to see everything. No more shadows, no more silence. If truth destroys us, then so be it." The queen's breath caught. Her silver eyes widened in horror and awe. "You fool," she whispered. "You have not doomed us. You have called judgment upon the entire universe." The rift flared once more, a shadow moving closer, larger than any planet. The stars blinked out, one by one, swallowed by its presence. The queen turned to Daniel, her voice breaking. "You have set us free, or doomed us all." The ground shook violently, the sky cracked with thunder, and then, before the truth of his final wish could be revealed, everything went black.